Hello and welcome to the inaugural episode of Toronto Unscripted. I'm your host, Backsteve Future. Joining me today are two people sort of from Toronto, roughly from Toronto area. And we're going to be discussing all things Toronto. We want to learn more about them. This is a rich, vibrant city. There's so many interesting people, so many interesting things going on. And so we want to hear from these two and sort of understand the rich fabric that makes up this city. So I'll turn over to you. So we have Edward and Desmond joining us. Welcome. So Edward, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
My name's Edward Hutchinson. I have lived in Toronto itself for about 17 years now. Moved here to go to film school after growing up in the GTA out in Oshawa. And have lived here ever since. Went to film school, did nothing with it for about 10 years, and then have just recently gotten back into the world of podcasting.
Awesome. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming on. By the way, just real quickly, what part of Toronto? Like any east side, west side? Or
I actually live right around the corner from this studio. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
East
End.
East side. Yes. East side. So if you're not from Toronto, like east side is growing. And a lot of like nice condos, like a lot of like families on the east side, you know. A lot of like creative hubs like this too. Yeah. Shout out to the east side. Anyways, go ahead, Desmond.
Hey, my name is Desmond Missibi. I originally immigrated to Canada about 10 years ago. I think April 22nd this year. It's going to be making me 10 years in Canada. I actually initially came here to study. I did study civil engineering. I had computer school already. I've worked for a couple of companies here in Toronto as well. And finally decided that, I have to do something else and trying to get into some video content creation.
Something creative.
Yes.
And then Edward, you've always been doing like creative stuff, right?
Like I come from a background of like actors and writers. So that's kind of where I've always seen my life going. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So what was it about civil engineering? Like, is it one of those questions like you don't even know where to begin?
Well, I mean, it's when we were growing up, I think it was like a parent idea. Like our parents always, encourage you got to go to school, make sure you get a good job, And so based on that, our parents just have a certain expectation of you, right? And then so when you go to school, there's all these things that are thrown at you, right? Nobody spends the time to like say, hey, look, this is what's going to be happening in the future. This is what's going to come. So you can make like better choices on what you want to do. You just pick something and then just follow it to the point where you realize, no, maybe this is not for me. Yeah. I believe that a lot of people go to school here, but then end up never working in whatever they're trying to, like what they initially studied.
Yeah. My story is similar. Like I went to school for business, but like I work in programming.
Yeah.
That's like a little bit atypical. Like most programmers like study like engineering or like, I don't know. But like I've always been creative. So like I think like programming is like another creative outlet, although it doesn't normally get classified as that. Right.
Sure.
Yeah. And then engineering though is like a very universal like skill set, right? I've heard like a lot of like businesses love even hiring people who've done engineering just because they have like general problem solving skills.
Yeah. It's the big thing in engineering. You gotta, in order for you to succeed, you have to have like problem solving skill. Yeah.
Do you have like, did you get the civil engineering ring, or did you get like?
No, I didn't make it up to that level.
Oh, okay.
I think life just cut me at some point. I was like, okay, I got to get into the workforce fast.
Yeah. So no bridge attestation that it's not going to collapse.
No,
right? Wow,
no.
There's a word for you. Huh? Wow, that's a mouthful.
I know.
Oh, yeah.
And then so likewise, like I have friends, Edward, who work in film, and it's like such a grind. It's such a grind. Like I remember coming like talking to them like tech startup world, and almost just being like, you got to hustle, you got to do this, because that's kind of how it is in tech. Like you can be 22 and somehow raise like $100 million, but they were like, no, film minimum 35 before you can like
pretty much. I mean, like, I went to film school like right out of high school. did my degree, and it was all the networking and me being like freshly 18, 19 years old and not having any social skills whatsoever.
Right.
Now I'm like, oh, I could totally do it. But back then I was just like, okay, I'm going to go work in a coffee shop for 5 years and then a bunch of other just random service worker jobs. And now I'm like, no, I need to be back doing what I want to do.
Yeah, I think that as you grow older, at some point you just be like, you know what, I need to do what I want to do, or I'm happy doing for yourself, right? It's a real pain once you start working in a particular job that you don't enjoy. Like as you grow older, that's like just something that nobody wants to do.
Oh yeah.
And I think that is basically because they don't spend time to like, you know, what's the word? To educate people on like what are the different options that are out there, right? It's just they just throw the different things at you and then pick it and then see where it leads you to, which I don't think in an educational system it should be like that.
Yeah, it's like, this is like, especially with careers, like some careers have like structure, right? I would say how it used to be in tech, where it's like, I get my computer science degree, odds are like 80-90% I will get a job with benefits. Right. And then like other interviews, like other industries, I should say, like it's just like there's a lot less structure. You got to kind of make it happen, and there's like there's not as much guidance or resources, unfortunately. So I will say this, like going back to Toronto Unscripted, one thing that's good about Toronto is we do have, like, I'd say like every industry. Like we do have a film industry. Now, mind you, it's like very government subsidized.
Yeah.
Right. With grants and stuff.
Right.
But we have tech as well. We have banking. We have consulting. We're very fortunate for the area we live in. If I was in other parts of Canada, I don't know what I would do. I'd be quite miserable. At least you guys can just drop by, right?
Yeah.
If you feel like
you have something to fall back to.
Yeah. So I'm grateful for the city in that way, like just in terms of the density and like some of the opportunities. We could probably get into some of like the downsides of Toronto, but I guess just to like start with, like what would you two say, like, so what has been your favorite part about the city having grown up here?
I would have to say my favorite part of the city is just that no matter where you go, like something's always happening. There's always a story to be told. And that's something that's really drawn me to it, is like, I've grown up telling stories. I've grown up hearing stories, and just being able to, like, you can walk up and down Yonge Street and everyone going up and down a street just has their own story going on. And there's so many different things happening. Mm-hmm. Like one day there'll be a protest taking up like 3 city blocks, but then there'll be a parade. Halfway across the city celebrating something else. Like there's so many things that are just always happening. It's endless excitement.
Actually, funny tidbit the other day. I did see like a Palestinian protest the other day, and then at the same time, this is right on Front Street in front of Union Station, Comic-Con is going on. So there's like this weird like crossover. You know, like it's like the Fairly Odd Parents meet Jimmy Neutron or something, where you're like two different guys, and like you see people getting off the GO train, and they're like, whoa, what is going on? And all the people protesting are like, what is going on? I saw a guy, imagine this, fully dressed up as Goku on the TTC. Like head to toe, face paint. I couldn't believe it, right?
Yeah.
Like, wow, these Comic-Con guys are committed. Anyways, but yeah, this is exactly what you're saying. Like everyone has like their own story, and like I also like just walking down the street, like I just always wonder, you see all the different people in condos, like I wonder what they do. I wonder, you know, they have their own, you know, maybe God forbid, like, you know, someone they love is suffering from cancer, right? Maybe somebody's trying to write a book, maybe, you know, like there's just this rich fabric that I personally get quite energized by.
Oh yeah.
What about you, Desmond? What do you like about the city?
I'd say for like my 10 years being in Canada, one of the thing that you'd find I find most like fascinating is like the people. Like I think that, and I've been to some parts of the world, and you will not find any better. Like you will not find any better set of people. Like I don't know if it's generally in Canada, but in Toronto, it's like people are just super nice, right? Like they would help you. They'll go out of their way to help you, and I think that, and then that just incorporates because there's so much culture in like people from everywhere, literally. In Toronto, and I think that's one of the big things I find very fascinating and I like about Toronto in particular.
And I would say like some parts of the city are certainly more you can feel that vibrancy. And like I'd say, like for example, like Kensington.
Yeah.
Kensington for
yeah.
sure is one of those parts of the city where you feel like the diversity and just like
Sure.
yeah, I think I did like a fun challenge with my friends the other day. So we tried like every taco place in Kensington because that's the one place in Canada where there's enough taco density.
Yeah.
We don't have enough taco places, unfortunately. Okay. And you know, like it's you know, part of it is like preserving Kensington because other parts of the city, like you're in the core like bay and front, like it's like mainly corporate, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And then I mentioned like East Side is like maybe more families, maybe more creative.
Sure.
It's like
Sure.
yeah.
Sure.
And so then what were your first impressions, Desmond, like moving here?
Over here, I think that like when we are back home, right, the impression that you get coming to Canada is way different. Like you think everything from the roads, just like everything is perfect, right? I mean, to a certain degree, like it's way better than from like where I'm coming from, like you know. But the expectation that you put in front coming here, you think about school, you think about everything. It's like you have this like perfect like kind of mindset, thinking everything is perfect. But once you get here, it's like no, just white people, black people, Asian people. It's like okay, and then you just kind of just slowly get into the system, and then I think one of the big difference you just find is like when we are back home, like because we mostly live with family, we have everything set up for us, right? We don't feel the impact of bills and everything. But God, month number 1, that's it. Everything changes, you know.
You have to.
And as soon as you get here, it's like most of the time your parents will be like, okay, now like you're in that part of the world where you're on your own.
Yeah.
And so you're just
see.
okay, now you're on your own.
Yeah.
And then it's like you're suffering all the like the impact, the reality of everything that's happening. It's like how like sometimes our parents have like maybe 4 or 5 kids, and it's like, how does this guys do it? Because on my own, I can't even like figure it. And then I think that over the time, as you spend more time in Canada, some people settle in quickly, some people take more time. But then I think that,
and then you're also coming in like interesting time where it's like peak housing crisis, you know, and like the whole like everything's just gone like super downhill. It's like killed the vibe of the city a little bit.
I know. That's one of the big things here. Like I think there are 2 big things in Canada. It's like housing and taxes. Those are the 2 big things. If you can figure out the 2 of them, you're good.
You're good.
Yeah. So what about you? Like so you've probably seen like. You've seen the city grow, I guess, is your perspective, right? Like you've seen it.
Yeah, like I've seen it grow, and I've seen so many like bizarre changes, like even just in my time here. Like when I first moved here, the Tiff Bell Lightbox theater / I guess hotel, I guess it is, like that was a hole in the ground, and now it's just this massive focal point. In like the downtown core, like come September, you'll see everyone lining up to see what celebrities are here, like all sorts of stuff like that. And like, I even have family that like moved to Regent Park recently, and they've seen it like growing and like building up from what it was 10-15 years ago, where it was deemed like one of the most dangerous neighborhoods in the city. And like my family is able to like, there's still sketchy parts of every area of the city, but my family feels more and more comfortable walking around that neighborhood than they used to when they would just visit. So it's been interesting just seeing like the rapid growth and like all the changes that have happened.
Yeah, and like just going back to like housing or these kinds of things, like I wonder if this is growing pains, you know, or if it's like systematic. And like right now it's like unclear.
It's
honestly,
very
like,
unclear.
unclear.
It's
like,
very, very
what's
unclear.
like the plan, right? Like cool, like all these people are coming, or like, you know, like we're growing, but like it's So
I think we're growing so fast, like in population. I don't think that every other thing is keeping up. Housing is not keeping up. Food and like every basic thing that we need is not keeping up with the amount of people who are coming into Canada.
Oh yeah, I mean, every time I go to the grocery store, there's another thing that I need that's out of stock at like 7 different grocery stores. I'm like, okay, well, I guess I go without this week. Like, yeah.
But I don't know, man. Like even then, like all these problems, right? Like I still I'm still here. You know, I'm still like, I still love this city. You know, like I'm energized by it. And I don't know, like I wonder, you know, because a lot of my friends are thinking to move to the States, like really truly, but like I wonder if this is like if this is the point where you stay on and then it like is uphill from here.
Yeah.
Or you did it, time it out right. And things got worse.
Yeah. Well, I think with that, I was like, I mean, I've heard a lot of people like saying that they're gonna move to the States, and a lot of people from my community as well, like moving back home. I think that not everybody's gonna make it. Right, the way the system is set up is not gonna be for everybody. It's too many people coming in, and you gotta just figure out what works for you best. If it's going to the States, fine. If it's going somewhere else, fine. But I would truly and honestly say there are gonna be very few places that you find it more better, you know, than Canada. Yeah,
I love that. So, just approaching the end of the interview. So we got a wild. So far, it's been a wild 2020. 2021. Every year has been like more wild. I don't know what to expect. But what are you two expecting for the next, let's say, up to 2030? Like where do you want to find yourself? You know, how do you see yourself evolving with the city? Like how do you see that? Go ahead, Edward.
That's a tricky one for me, just because I have engrossed myself over the past few years in post-apocalyptic fiction. So there's an unfortunate side effect to that of I see that everywhere. I don't know. I've been on my own kind of like growth journey lately. Lots of life changes happened last year for me, and I think just as the city grows, I'm more than happy to just kind of grow with it and stick with it, whatever happens.
I love that. I love that. You're a trooper.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about you, Desmond?
For me, I don't think that I limit myself to Toronto. I think that the war is a very like big place, and I'm very open to the idea of, you know, going to different places, see what's happening over there.
Yep.
So over the course of what you said, 2030. Yeah. I think that's a lot of time. I don't know, but time will tell.
Yeah. My only goal may be starting a business, I think. And if I can somehow afford rent and my mortgage, I will. Cause I've considered that I made it in this city.
Yeah.
On that note, we'll wrap. Do you guys have anything you want to plug? Anything you want, your Instagram or anything like that? Or?
Oh yeah. So for my Instagram and like Facebook, it's Real Time with Missibi, and as well as YouTube and TikTok.
Awesome. What about you?
Yep. For me, it's Instagram. There's underscores in between each word, but welcome to the wastes.
Oh, wow.
Is where I am everywhere.
Post-apocalyptic.
Post-apocalyptic. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. My note, just, follow Toronto Unscripted. Make sure you're subscribed. Add us to your notifications. So you can do that on Spotify. You can get notified when a new episode drops, and then also add it to your queue. So it's the top of the queue. Anyways, thank you both so much for coming on.
Thanks for
having us.
All right. Awesome. All right.